Just 1 second.
It says it's streaming live now.
Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, just 1 second. You can go ahead.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead? Okay, I will call the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. on November 4th, 2020. Could we have roll call, please?
Roll call. Chair Mitchell,
Here.
Commissioner Abraham,
Here.
Commissioner Bites, Commissioner Doherty,
Here.
Commissioner Fidrich,
Here.
Commissioner Ishibashi,
Here.
and Commissioner Teeter.
Here.
Thank you. So we will now approve the minutes from May 6th. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not from May 6th. Sorry.
One second, just so you
Yeah.
know, Public Works Director Todd Capurzo is now on the call. He's on via phone, and so he is able to, if you have troubles unmuting Todd, let me know and I'll get you unmuted. But Rebecca, you have controls as well.
Thank you.
Are you able to hear me right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Good. All right. Sorry for interrupting. Thank you.
No, hey, Todd. So we need to approve the minutes from July the 1st, 2020. The one item I noticed, I was not present at the meeting, but my last name is actually not spelled correctly on the minutes in the roll call section.
And I have one quick question. It was talking about the Parks and Recreation Fund. Do we have billion of dollars in there, or should it have been million?
We wish billions.
I know, but I think it said billion.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Sherry, what section is it under?
Oh, rats. I didn't print that part out. It's,
I can tell you, hold on. It's under, oh shoot. I did see it too.
It's on page, I found it. It's on page 3 of 5, first paragraph, third line from the bottom.
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
3.5 billion.
We could do anything we wanted.
I know.
New pool.
Yeah.
Knew everything. Could we
So
get a motion
With
with
that-
the corrected changes?
I moved that we would approve those minutes with
I'll
the
second
corrected
that.
change.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? And I will abstain from that vote. Okay. For some reason, my agenda is getting lost here. I don't know why. Okay, there we go. Any presentations? No. Oral requests? Okay, we're on to new business. We're going to start with the update regarding parks and COVID activities.
Okay, that would be me, assuming that you could all still hear me.
We can hear you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. I apologize for this. I've had a laptop issue tonight, so I can pull the agenda up on my regular computer at home, but no camera, no microphone on that one. So I'm going to be joining by phone, and you know, this is just the way it goes sometimes. So again, I'm sorry about this. So to bring you all up to speed with where we are with related to our COVID-19 activities with parks, as you know, if we go back far enough, you know, we did a lot of shutdown of individual play amenities, but over the course of the health order, we have continued to keep parks open and park restrooms open. And, you know, some of our amenities like hard courts and the track and the play areas and the exercise equipment have been closed over that time. But as the health order has evolved, we have kind of evolved our practices right along with it. So our most recent change was about the time that the county went in from that changed color on our overall guidance. We were able to make the decision to reopen our play lots. So we have done that now. We do have signage posted at each play lot advising people that they should still keep their 6-foot distance. It's posted at or near or around every play lot. So the days of the caution tape being reinstalled repeatedly are coming to an end. So again, the play equipment is open. We have now expanded that to include the exercise equipment as well. You probably also know that quite some time ago we reopened the tennis courts, the handball courts. The recreation department has reopened the skate park. And so we're really at a point now where our only closed amenity in parks are the basketball courts at Campbell Park. And in that area, we've taken down the hoops because we were finding early on that even when we had the hoops up with the advisory signage, people were largely not complying with the 6-foot social distance. We would anticipate that if we were to reinstall the hoops, we might have to, have to reinstall our advisory signage, but not quite sure the level of compliance that we would get. So we're kind of holding off on that. But everything else is open. Also, a couple months ago, we initiated a higher level of cleaning at park restrooms, which we've been able to sustain all the way through the month of October. We're coming to an end on that now because we're going to have to, just for financial reasons, and we're going to curtail that as the days get shorter and the temperatures get cooler. But we will keep an eye on reinitiating that perhaps in the spring. So that's largely where we are with our activities. There's probably some things that maybe Natasha would like to add with regard to the community center, but I'm happy to take any questions or any comments that you would have about our practices over the last few months. Anybody?
I was just going to add on for the community center. We have had the tennis courts and the handball courts open for quite some time. And as Todd mentioned, we did just recently reopen the skate park as an unsupervised location. Our bathrooms on our campus, due to the number of schools that we have on campus, we've had to pin pad entry those. So those are dedicated for the schools and the children. So there's no public access. So our public bathrooms on our campus are the Q building, the skate park, the concessions, and the tennis courts. And so kind of filtering everybody out to there, and our office does remain closed, but if people knock on the door, we're still opening the door and helping to resolve any questions or issues they have.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? I have seen a few playgrounds around town with children on them, so I'm sure the parents are equally as happy to get their kids outside. Luckily, it's November the 4th and the weather is still cooperating for playground activity. I don't know how much longer the weather will cooperate, but hopefully people are following the guidelines and being careful.
Natasha, what do you mean by the skateboard park is unsupervised? It's just like free play, so to speak. You just come in and use it?
Yeah, so we had historically had a staff person there, and with the COVID shutdown and the budget restrictions, a lot of the challenges we face are that we have to be more cost recovery. And the skate park has never been something that has been cost recovery. It's more of I think it was initially implemented as a safety liability precaution, but as we kind of looked into it, there was some changes in the laws in like 2013, 2015, I think it was. And It actually has more liability with it being staffed there for the city because there's the implied that there would be somebody there to express that what you're doing is hazardous and to warn you to not do it. Whereas when you have skate at your own risk, that, you know, it kind of releases a little bit of that liability. It is part of our Muni code that they wear proper safety equipment and things like that. So far, it's been kind of an ongoing challenge for us on a daily basis. And Alan, I saw him out there. I'm like the angry lady who goes out and enforces the rules. So today it got shut down at like 4 o'clock because kids are in there with bikes, and we don't allow bikes in the skate park. And you know, several kids just continually not wearing helmets. And so it's we're kind of we were doing a lot of education over the last few weeks, and now we're to the point of we're closing because you're not following the rules.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what else you could possibly do except for shut it down so that eventually people know that you're serious, right? Yeah, that cannot be fun for you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not fun, but I do appreciate it being open. My kids really enjoy it, and I did see Natasha regulating on some kids the other day.
Were they yours?
No, my kids have helmets.
Just kidding.
It's nice to see it full and have a lot of kids out there, and they're having a great time. It's just, you know, they got to wear a helmet, and you know, there's a few bikes that keep showing up, and it's the same kids on the bikes, you know. And so Aaron did some real regulating today and really told them, like, don't even bring your bike inside the gate, lock it up outside, and then if anyone drives by. We had a parent come into the office today or knock on the doors, who was, you know, tried to be reasonable with the kids, and they were kind of, you know, giving a bunch of attitude to her, and I felt bad. And, you know, it was one of those things where I'm like, if people are going to make the time to walk all the way to the office to notify us, then you guys lose your privilege. So that's how it's going to be.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that update. We're going to move on to the project updates for JD Morgan, Campbell Park, and Santa Masakino Creek Trail. I think that's you again, Todd?
Yes, that's me again. So thank you for that. So yeah, I wanted to update you on these all 3 very important efforts that we're working on. So the John D. Morgan Park is the project that is the closest that's going out for construction. So as you know, we did bring a couple of design alternatives to the commission over the last year, and then we settled on a preferred alternative and eventually took that desired alternative to council for their approval. And then we went into working on the plans and specs for that and took that to council last month for final approval as well. And so with that, we did go out to bid. We are currently out to bid. Due to the complexity of that project, we actually had a mandatory pre-bid conference. So if any contractors were interested in bidding, they needed to attend this mandatory conference. We did have 5 contractors attend, all with pretty good records of success across this valley, working on playgrounds in a variety of jurisdictions. There were some good questions that came up during that time that really had to do with elevations mainly and access. So we're doing an addendum right now, which was actually distributed, I should say, at the end of last week. And the bid opening is scheduled for November 13th. We will do that completely over Zoom. So we're actually getting somewhat proficient at doing virtual live bid openings. And if things hold true, we will start construction in December, weather permitting, and the construction will go through July of 2021. And that's it on that. I'll be happy to answer any questions if anybody would like to know more.
No, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll move on to Campbell Park. So Campbell Park, as you know, was once upon a time ahead of John D. Morgan, and now we have consciously moved that one a little bit behind because we do have this whole funding and grant constraint with John D. Morgan. So in an effort to stay within the constraints of the grant, we kind of slowed down a little bit on Campbell Park because we didn't want our two of our more prominent parks to be under construction potentially at the same time. So we've been working with the commission off and on Campbell Park. I'd like to say for maybe about 3 years, I think. So we finally got a couple of desired, I'd say a couple of final design alternatives. We did have a preferred option that the commission expressed a preference for. We did take that input to council. Council was basically also good with that as well. The council did ask some very specific questions about access and with regard to how the pathway would be rerouted, and perhaps the ability to add back some play, mainly swing areas, that had to do with how we would reconfigure that new pathway. And so we went away, we did a little bit of homework on that and found that it actually was feasible. So we are adding some money to our design contract. I think we've got to add money in the order of about $40,000 to have our designer accommodate the additional play amenities, which we think will be a good thing. This will cause us to have to add about $300,000 or so to the construction budget, which we will do when we redo the CIP as part of the next year's budget process, which, by what I'm saying, you can tell that the project will not go under construction this current fiscal year, which actually fits well against the JDM schedule. So as I said, the John D. Morgan Park project should be completing around July of 2021. So our goal with Campbell Park is to take the final plans and specs to council in the March or April timeframe, with the intent to start construction at the close of the John D. Morgan project. So our hope would be to start construction around August. Now, of course, August is still in the middle of the main play season, so there is still room in our schedule that perhaps we would wait until Labor Day. I would say that that's when kids normally go back to school, but kids don't go back to school lately. So we'll see how all that plays out, but our intent would be to leave the current amenities in play as long as we can, such that the community could make optimum usage of that. And as we wind out of the summer, take Campbell Park down under construction. And keep in mind that park will also be getting a new restroom as part of the project. Well, so it's not just the play lot being reconfigured with additional play amenities, but it's a brand new restroom building out there as well. And so that really covers Campbell Park.
Any
Two
questions?
I have two questions, Don. You mentioned the rerouting of the pathways within that park. Is the rerouting
Yes.
currently in place? Is that a rerouting that kind of keeps bikes separate, or creates some kind of separation between dedicated park users, if you will, and the bikes that are kind
Yes.
of area? Yes.
Yes, that's exactly right. So if you can imagine yourself standing up at the corner of Campbell and I've lost my street names all of a sudden. I want to say Page,
I know
but it's
what you're
not
talking
Page. Yes. Oh, up at Campbell and Gilman, right?
Mhm.
So, and then as you walk down on the pathway that kind of takes you right in front of the play lot, what we're going to do is, just as you get to the play lot, but not quite there, there's going to be a little jog in that will jog you over to the left. And we will create a new pathway there that is intended for peds and bikes that want to get to the creek trail to kind of have their own straight shot without going in between the people in the play lot and the family sitting at the tables. And so we're actually going to do that work with an in-house crew prior to the play lot being taken down for construction. So our intent will be that we will actually do that one over this next spring, so that when we do take the play lot down for construction, that pathway will still provide a bike and ped access to the creek trail. And then when the existing trail or pathway that serves the play lot, that will actually be narrowed down a little bit, such that the play lot will be able to expand out a few feet, and it'll actually kind of shorten the connection then between the seating areas and the play elements.
That sounds fantastic. I remember the in-house work, so I just want to make sure that was still there. Sounds like it's still there. That's great. My second
It's still there. Yes, please go ahead.
Is I'm curious if you guys have bid any other projects recently, and if you've noticed that, like, I don't know what the construction environment is like. Are things coming under estimates? Are they still coming at estimates? Are they going over estimates? Like, what is the construction cost kind of looking like right now?
We haven't bid enough projects to come to any sort of conclusion. We are continually surveying and trading notes with our partners and other agencies. It's really almost kind of too early to tell because I guess I should say is that we haven't seen a drop as you might expect it. When there's an economic slowdown at all, you might expect a drop in pricing. But there's also kind of this backlog of project work. So kind of the conventional wisdom that we're landing on here is that in the short term we don't expect to see much of a change at all. Our hope is that the escalation will slow down, because at one point we were all kind of banking on 6 to 7% escalation per year, which if you design something and don't bid it right away, it puts you at quite a disadvantage. So the hope is that pricing will hold relatively stable. But the first real test we're going to get this on in terms of park projects will come next week when we, or is it the week after? It will come in about a week and a half when we open up the bid on John D. Morgan. So. Haven't seen much one way or the other, but we're hoping that it remains pretty stable. The other thing about park projects is, as I said, because we had a mandatory walkthrough, I mean, it's a relatively small pool of contractors that build the more complex projects. So, that may not be the best test of it. I think that we may find that the pricing comes down in some of the more generic type of construction projects. But, I'm a little, I hesitate a little bit to have high expectations for what might happen in playground construction. But we'll see, and we'll certainly update you at the next meeting.
Thanks.
Todd, just one thing I'm hearing is as an FYI, because I have a lot of friends doing construction projects right now, is just the lead time and materials is very hard right now. So, question you might want to ask.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I should have mentioned that as well, because we actually are doing some building upgrades, largely at the community center in terms of HVAC systems, and then we're going to be doing some street light retrofitting. And I know those have nothing to do with playgrounds, but they do they're consistent with the point you just brought up. We're finding that the lead time on some of our materials is months, and so that's why that's probably going to help Campbell Park, I think, at some point, because I think if we do bid that one out in the spring with the intent that it won't be constructed until August or September, that'll help that project. I'm still a little cautious about what that might do to the John D. Morgan project, but I guess we're going to find out soon enough here. The one thing that helps on playgrounds is that we generally work with a specific manufacturer on the layout. So in the case of John D. Morgan Park, the layout was formulated by our design firm which was Verde working with Landscape Structures. And so Landscape Structures is kind of the preferred manufacturer on that one. Although if someone comes in with something equal and can prove it, we will accept that. But the bottom line there is that Landscape Structures is well aware of this project, and so they are anticipating that this equipment will be needed on this project almost regardless of who wins the bid. So that can work to our advantage a little bit too. Is just having that awareness out there with the manufacturers. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the San Tomas Aquino Creek Trail. So again, this is another project that maybe has been on the books for quite some time, and it goes back like to the early 2000s as being identified in the city's general plan. And finally, in about the year 2015 or so, it was identified as a council priority, and there was some funding provided in the capital budget. We did get some money from the city of San Jose because it kind of runs right along city boundaries out there. And then ultimately, we received a grant through MTC, kind of as a transportation grant, because the trail, if constructed, would provide an off-street connection for bikes and peds, and also touches two schools directly, Forest Hill Elementary and Westmont High School. So after many years of having community meetings and working on the alignment, and as you may know, on something like the Creek Trail, people do express concerns with regard to privacy and the types of folks that might be seen on a creek trail. After several trips to council, the council did authorize us to look at the section between Westmont Avenue and McCoy, which is about where McCoy hits Harriet. And then again, a smaller section along San Tomas Aquino between Harriet and where San Tomas Aquino actually bends to the south. And for that section, we were authorized to do to perform a preliminary design and take care of the environmental documents. And the final product of the environmental document was something called a mitigated negative declaration, otherwise known as an MND. And so we took that to council this last Monday night. And so council ultimately approved that. They did make a few comments that they would like to see. But what that does now, I mean, it's both good and bad, because there's no second step for us to take, or no further step for us to take with this project, because we've gone as far as we can go. Creek trails, as you may know, tend to be extraordinarily expensive projects relative to other projects. So that stretch that I described is, if constructed as the design looks, would probably be about a $5 million project. But creek trails are usually funded, I should say the majority of funding for creek trails is usually provided by grants. And so we know that we will have grant opportunities through VTA, through maybe their bike and ped program, through MTC, through, if there's another call for grants. Sometimes the water district offers grants. Sometimes the open space district will offer grants. So basically we're in position now to where, because we have the preliminary design and the environmental documents covered, we should be a reasonable candidate for grants. But at this point, there's no authorization to take that project any further. So I suspect that may need to be revisited by a future council, and after we go through a CIP, maybe that's a little bit leaner than the one we have now. So in a year or two or three, staff may find a grant opportunity and then take that package back to council to see if council is authorized in applying for a grant. But that's where the project stands at this point.
Hey, Todd, I just have one question. This is Tracy. Is any part of that considered San Jose? Because Westmont and Forest Hill are both San Jose address. So it's fascinating to me that it's all on Campbell when I think that's San Jose, actually, address.
No, that's a great point. So the entire section that I just described is, it's not exactly 50-50. I think it's actually slightly more in San Jose. So the entire section that runs behind Westmont, from Westmont Avenue to about Forest Hill, is in San Jose. And then and at that point, from Forest Hill all the way out to McCoy and Harriet is completely in Campbell. And then that section that runs along San Tomas Aquino between Harriet and the Bend is right on the city boundary of the two cities, if you can believe it. And so I did think I mentioned that there was a contribution from the city of San Jose. So in terms of the funding for the work that's been done, it's been funded probably equally parts of Campbell and San Jose, with that MTC grant on top of that. So the work we've done so far is probably about $500,000 or so worth of work. And when you look at all of the design and the geotech and the environmental work, and about almost 400,000 of that was covered with the grant. And then the remainder was covered kind of as a split between the San Jose and Campbell contributions. And I would suspect that if we go forward with a grant, I'll throw in a typical number. A typical grant might require a 20% local match. So if this were a $5 million project and we applied for $4 million and we were fortunate enough to get it, that remaining $1 million would probably be split between, it would be split between San Jose and Campbell, and it would be proportional to the square footage or the area or the linear feet, however you'd like to call it, in each jurisdiction. Now, Campbell has been the lead agency on this because it was, funded in our budget and we took the lead on it. But this could just as easily be a project that if San Jose wanted to take the lead for the construction, that might be appropriate as well. It's difficult to have more than one agency as a lead. You really have to pick one, and that agency kind of shepherds it through the process, even though the other agency might make an equal financial contribution.
That makes sense. Thank you for the clarification. That was helpful.
Okay, so I think that is it for my big project updates.
That was a lot.
I know there was a lot for me to cover there.
Yeah.
And because of me not being on the Zoom call, I'm going to see if Natasha can help me out a little bit on the next two items. I know I didn't prepare her for that, so my apologies, Natasha, but if you can take those, I'll just be a passive listener here for a little bit.
Well, I was prepared to do them, so that works out just fine.
Good, thank you.
No problem. So earlier this year, Mayor Landry had met with advisory commissions. Chair Mitchell, were you able to attend?
I was actually, I was on a beach in Maui and called in, and it was actually really an interesting meeting. To me, it was a start of something really, really good to collaborate with the other commissioners, understand what each of the commissions are actually working on and doing, and where each commission could maybe support each other. It was the first time, I've been a commissioner since 2008. It was the first time that I've actually sat in on something like that for just the purposes of communicating and understanding, what the other commissioners are currently working on and where support is needed, et cetera. So at the end of that, it was, suggested and discussed that it would be nice to keep that going forward. It was something that our mayor, started, and I actually thought it was super positive.
Good. Yeah, so there was interest from everyone who attended to kind of create this commission collaborative and have a designated appointee from each commission be a representative in these meetings moving forward. And so the goal, I think, is that once the city council kind of does their priority setting session in early of the calendar year, then this collaborative would get together and develop work plans that would be in alignment with the goals and priorities that the council has set, but then also not duplicating efforts, or how can the commissions collaborate and support one another in the projects and work plans that they have going. So we would need somebody from this commission to be appointed to that collaborative. And so this kind of blends into the next item. So maybe we should have, I don't know, it's like the chicken or the egg on this one, but we do have 3 commissioners who are terming next month. And so it would probably be best suited to have one of the commissioners that's not terming out, just in the off chance that someone does not return, that we have somebody who's still planning to be on the commission. So we do need to get a vote from you to who would be the person going to the collaborative.
And another idea would be to have the chair, whoever becomes the chair in December, take over that role. That's another option.
That's fine too. Yep.
That would actually be my recommendation, but I'm open to whatever the majority wants to do. I won't be the chair, so it will be somebody else. But there will have to be a chair regardless of, it would be more, we're assigning the position rather than the person right now, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So that might be a good way to move forward with the process.
And it may be helpful to let us know who's terming out. I know.
That's what I was gonna ask, yeah.
So Chair Mitchell, Vice Chair Fidrich, and you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But you should have received something, Alan, to reapply. Yeah, okay.
I did.
So I guess maybe some discussion from other commissioners. Would you prefer to select someone this evening, or would you rather select a position and just whoever holds that position would then be responsible for attending the commission collaborative?
I think it makes sense to just nominate. It seems easy, straightforward.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Sorry, you cut out, Alan. Did you say nominate the position?
I'm sorry. Yeah, yes. Nominate the chair. Yeah, nominate the position, and whoever holds that is the collaborative member.
When are we gonna know whether the 3 people who are terming out are gonna possibly, hopefully come back on?
So we can blend maybe these 2 items together then. So the 3 people who are terming out, like I said, is Chair Mitchell, Commissioner Ishibashi, and Vice Chair Fidrich. You all should have received an email from the clerk outlining, that you're terming out and a link to reapply for the position. So if you haven't, please let me know, and I'll make sure that we have the correct email at the end of the meeting and make sure she gets that to you. But they will be closing that, I would assume, by the end of the month, and hosting the interviews in December. So we know who those would be, or maybe late November they'll be doing interviews.
So when do we need to make this decision by, Natasha?
So for the nominating the position, I would just need a motion and a second and a roll call vote. And then I can just relay that information that through December, it'll be Chair Mitchell. And then moving forward, it'll be whoever is selected for the next chair position in 2021.
Well, then I would like to make a motion that we nominate the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission to be the commission collaborative member.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
That was Sherry.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Because we're on Zoom, we do need to do a roll call. Sorry.
Okay, go for it, Rebecca.
All right. Chair Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Shibashi,
Yes.
Commissioner Teeter,
Yes.
Commissioner Abraham,
Yes.
Commissioner Fidrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bites.
Yes.
All
Thank you.
approved.
Okay, so we kind of, thank you very much. That one's done. We'll move on. Just to kind of reiterate that the three of you do term out. And with you terming out in December, it kind of blends into our last item under new business as far as the December meeting. I am not anticipating any items from the recreation side. Todd, you can chime in as to whether or not you have a lot for that agenda, but knowing that it's your the last month possibly for this term and not knowing what that is, I just open it up for discussion. Do we want to make sure that we have the meeting, or would you like to cancel? How would you like to proceed?
I would like to defer to staff. If you think we need it, we can have it. If you don't think we need it, I think we should cancel it.
Todd, did you have anything pressing coming forward in December?
No, I'm not going to have any items in December.
And I won't be having anything either.
Yeah, I defer to you guys as well. I mean, there's no real reason to meet if there's nothing to discuss, no new items to discuss.
Okay, so Todd, do we need a motion to cancel, or we just?
I think we can cancel. I think we can just put up a cancellation note. I don't know that we need a motion for that. I think if we're going to cancel December, you may want to start thinking ahead about if we're going to have January. I don't know that we're going to have it on, what would that first Wednesday be? First Thursday, January 7th?
January 6th.
Would that, 6th? Yeah, would that give us enough time to post an agenda? Because I'm assuming that we're going to largely be closed, not that we aren't closed already, but largely be closed between Christmas and New Year's. So we should probably have an agenda kind of wrapped up by, that week before Christmas. So,
or is there a way to move the meeting to a week later?
Well, that's what we did last year. I think last year we went with the second Thursday of the month. I think we deferred it by a week or two.
I think we're a Wednesday, right?
I'm sorry. I keep saying, I don't know why. I think I want it to be Thursday already, and it's not. So that must be true. So I do think we deferred it to the second Wednesday of January, because our challenge is that we've got to get the agenda posted 72 hours prior to a meeting, which, and under normal circumstances, we post on the Friday before the Wednesday meeting because of the weekend. But just taking into account the holidays, that may present some challenges. So I think if you'd be open to maybe rescheduling the January meeting from the 6th to the 13th, that would require a motion, and we'd like, I might suggest that you consider that tonight. Otherwise, we'll be polling everybody over the month of December to see if that might work.
I think that's a good idea.
I can make a motion. I'd like to move that we move the January meeting to January 13th. Is that the second Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would second that.
Roll call vote on this one as well?
Yes.
Okay. Chair Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Shibashi,
Yes.
Commissioner Teeter,
Yes.
Commissioner Abraham. You're on mute.
Yes.
Commissioner Fidrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bites.
Yes.
All approved.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we're moving on to committee reports. Parks and Creek Trail, Chair Doherty.
I don't really have anything to report other than I've been over to Jack Fisher Park lately and John D. Morgan. It looks like a couple of trees have come down or were taken down near the footbridge. But other than that, nope, nothing to report. Parks look good, although not very crowded.
Yeah.
Well, except the Campbell Park, we're out there 2 or 3 times a week, and there's a lot of people out there. So I'm glad it's open.
Yeah. Okay. Chair Abraham for trees.
I don't think there's anything to report on trees.
Okay. And special events is me. I know they did a virtual Oktoberfest run, I believe. I don't know what the status of that was. I know the virtual ones are kind of hard to rally the troops to participate. Surely wasn't the same event that we typically have in October. Hopefully we will be able to resume a year from now. But otherwise, I have no, obviously, special events to report. Does anybody else? Nope. Okay, staff reports. We'll move on to parks.
All right, I'm going to, since I can't see everybody, I'm going to ask if Bob Shazinski is on the call.
Yes, he is.
Oh, Bob,
Okay,
you're on
so
mute.
I'll let Bob take the first part, and then I'll have something to add when Bob wraps up.
Well, good
There you
evening,
go.
everybody. I do have just a few quick things that I want to let you know about. It's kind of silly, but it's important. Yes, there's been a problem with dogs not being cleaned up after at Stoyanovich Park. So we have installed a new scooper towards the back of the park, and we put a sign on the scooper that says, "Keep your dog on a leash, and you are required to clean up after your dog." So that was done earlier last week, and Leticia sent that out as a social media announcement to try to get people to cooperate with that. Another item in park maintenance is we are installing in November, mid-November, our new CalSense irrigation system at the community center. It will have flow sensors, which will determine how much water is going through the pipe when each station activates, and it'll be able to tell us if we have a break or a stuck valve. And in addition, it'll be cloud-based to where the staff can access changes on their cell phone and make those changes. So that's really nice. Instead of going back to the shop, allows them to be more specific, hopefully saving more water. And I also want to let you guys know that on the week of the 16th of November, we have a contractor lined up to install the holiday lights at the Roosevelt Tree and the library. And I have not heard when they're going to be activated, but they are going up the week before. We're making all the preparations to get all the bulbs working good in all our outlets. And FYI, something that you don't really normally think about, but weeds is a big part of our job here. And we are actually going out spraying concrete medians in different areas with a weed growth preventative. And that way, come spring and winter, when it starts raining, you don't see weeds popping up all over the place. That's really the best evidence of a good weed program. And we're doing our best out there. We do have a lot of open space. And then finally, Todd touched on the opening of the playgrounds. And we've been asked to apply disinfectant to the playgrounds in the mornings and to have a sign up there that notifies the public that, yes, we have sprayed them with disinfectant, and it's best to stay off of them until they're dry or approximately 10 o'clock. And that's pretty much what I have for you folks. Todd, if you wanted to chime in on something, go ahead.
Sure. All right, Bob, thanks very much. I also wanted to add that there's a couple things going on that are related to the Creek Trail. So we've been working with the Santa Clara Valley Water District over the last couple of years on a grant that we received back in about 2018, 2019, right in there. And the grant was for us to work, it was a joint effort between the City of Campbell and the Town of Los Gatos. And between the two agencies, we're going to be reinstalling trash and dedicated recycling containers at various locations along the trail, between as far north as Bascom Avenue and as far south as downtown Los Gatos, with 5 going into each jurisdiction. And at each of these 10 locations, As I say, they'll be shiny, brand new, both litter and recycling containers, and interpretive panels along the way that will help educate people as to the benefits of keeping litter out of the creek and protecting the wildlife and whatnot. So if you're out on the trail, you may have already noticed those. So that was an effort, again, that was started several years ago, but that we've finally been able to carry forward. So hopefully you'll see results of that. And one of the goals there as well is to capture the recycling containers, because, you know, one of the more common pieces of litter along the trail, and I shouldn't even say litter, but you know, sometimes they actually are put in the trash cans, are these kind of single-use water bottles, the plastic water bottles. So when those go into the trash can, they end up in the landfill. And so the effort here is to try to separate those early in the waste stream, so that things like plastic water bottles and aluminum cans are not ending up in the landfill, but they can be diverted and recycled. So hopefully we'll see some improvement there as well. Also, in working with the West Valley Clean Water Program, as well as with our environmental staff, we are, and I should also mention the South Bay Clean Creeks Coalition. We are pursuing the notion of installing a mural on the underside of the Creekside Bridge over the Los Gatos Creek Trail. So we selected the Creekside Bridge because that is a wholly owned bridge by the city of Campbell, as opposed to things like Highway 17, which are Caltrans, or the Bascom Avenue Bridge, which is half San Jose, half Campbell. But we did like the Creekside location. It's got a you know, it kind of presents a larger palette, and we're working cooperatively with our partners at West Valley Clean Water, the cannot say that. I got through it the first time, and that was as good as it gets. The Clean Creeks Coalition. So as that moves forward, we'll probably provide you an update on that. I think we are at a point now where we have kind of, you know, we've seen some preliminary proposals from some artists. We've narrowed the field down a little bit internally to where there's going to be probably 4 options, I think. And we're going to, the next step in this is that we're going to take these options to the Civic Improvement Commission, not so much for the final selection, but just to let them know what's going on, because it is a public art project. And then before we get to the point where we would be doing a public vote, so to speak, because this will, you know, our selection process is going to have a lot of community involvement to help us make that final selection. We will bring these different mural options back to the Parks and Rec Commission, just so you can see what's going on there along the trail. So that's kind of an exciting project that we don't get to do too often. I'd also like to let you know that although it's not a park project per se, we are moving forward with great energy on the Measure O project. So the Measure O project will be building a new police operations building on the Civic Center campus, and renovating the existing library building. And, you know, and of course the library has a great adjacency with the Orchard City Green, so it's always good to know how these new projects might impact one of our park facilities. So the couple of alternatives for the library, I think the library district is very happy with. I think you'll be happy with them at some point when maybe we show you what the final selection is. But I did want to let you know that we are taking the design alternatives to council on December 1st. And so if you keep an eye on that council packet or watch that council meeting, you'll maybe get a little better handle of what might be going on the Civic Center campus there. But, you know, a particular interest would be the library because of its proximity to the Orchard City Green. And then also, I'd like to take this opportunity because, as many of you know, when Vince Huppy retired last March, we were, you know, put in a position where we had to freeze the park supervisor position. And so we've asked Mr. Bob Shazinski here to be our acting park supervisor since that time. And as you can tell by his report out tonight, and that he takes great pride in his work, and his attention to detail is awesome. And so we really enjoy having him in that position. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to give him a little recognition tonight in front of the commission. So thanks, Bob, for all of your work so far, and I really appreciate it. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Good job, Bob. Thanks, Todd.
Can I ask a question, Todd, about the creek trail?
Yes, sure, please.
My assumption is that Campbell is responsible for the pavement on the creek trail within the city of limits of Campbell.
That is true.
Is there any, is that in any type of work plan, maybe to redo that at any point in the future? The reason I ask that is there's, I've spent probably more time than I have in the past on the creek trail. And there's a number of locations where it feels like there's roots kind of pushing through the path.
Yeah.
The perk ponds and whatnot, where there's like kind of a section where my son likes to jump off the roots, going across them, but not everyone probably likes that. So I'm just curious if there's any plans or any future work plans to address any of those issues. And obviously, it's probably very, very expensive to repave something like that, but just wanted to bring
we don't have that project in our budget to do a kind of a wholesale repaving of the creek trail. A couple of years ago, we did a seal coat out there. And that was largely to preserve the pavement from any sort of water infiltration, because as you know, water infiltration is not pavement's best friend, right? So we did that in an effort to preserve the pavement. But what that doesn't do is that doesn't give us the opportunity to go out there and look and see where there's drop-offs or roots that are pushing up. So I think that's probably a good reminder that, if there are areas that we need to treat, we'd probably want to identify those and treat those on kind of more of a spot basis. So if you've got some specific areas that we should look at, maybe you can drop me an email, and I'll take a walk out there with Bob and our street supervisor, who might be able to do some of the paving work in-house, and we'll see if we can do some of that corrective work.
Yeah, thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd. Okay, and now we're moving on to Recreation Community Service staff report.
Right.
I think that's the invitation.
So our staff has been busy, even though we're closed. We have a team working through the configuration of our new software, and we are doing the transition will happen on December 1st, whether we're ready or not. So we have kind of a soft launch happening on the 17th and 18th, where we'll be sending out information to current participants to build their accounts and get those things ready. So it should have some more functionality to make summer enrollment, Commissioner Shibashi, much easier. And it's much more user-friendly, a little bit more intuitive to find things. It's also going to be embedded into our website, so it's not going to really redirect you somewhere else. It's the same, this company is owned by the same company that does our website, so they integrate very nicely together, and it seems very seamless. We will be having a online activity guide for January through March. Everything's still kind of in limbo. We're doing our best to modify programs to meet county guidelines, and we are still continuing to do lap swim by reservation only. Our drop-in fitness programs will not be reconvening anytime soon. We are doing as many outdoor fitness classes as possible. So our spin bikes are currently on the pool deck and doing spinning there. We're doing Zumba classes on outside by the reflecting pools in front of the Heritage Theater. We have yoga in the theater courtyard. They're being as creative as possible outdoors, and also doing a lot of virtual fitness and adult center classes. We've been able to have our preschool in a very modified version. We normally operate 10 classes, and we have 3 classes going now, and we're looking to expand that in January as more families are feeling a little bit more comfortable about sending their children back to school. I'm not sure if it's comfort or just really need to get them back out and socializing and engaging with other kids. And it's a constant battle for us to keep up with the ever-changing guidelines from the county. So we started our programs, and now they have a mandate that children over 2 have to wear the mask in the program, which that wasn't when we started. So we're kind of constantly in transition with the programs we have offered. We're starting up some holiday programming as best as possible. So we normally have a big story time with Santa, and we're doing now virtual visits with Santa. So they'll be doing online Zoom visits, and people can sign up to do that. Our preschool staff has been doing holiday activity packets and kind of having people pick those up. We'll be doing photos in the Ainsley house. So again, kind of reserving your time slot, and your family comes in and you can do a holiday photo in the decorated house. The museum has also been doing one Friday a month, doing a history at home. So instead of the history happy hour, they're doing a Zoom version. In the last one, I think they had over 50 people sign up and attend. So they've been doing really well and having some really interesting speakers come. And then one Tuesday a month, they're doing Tasty Tuesdays, where they're highlighting a local business and having it kind of how it relates to, local history. And then, so they just had the honey people come, and she said it was a really engaging conversation that they just had. And then they've been launching an online YouTube series of What's in the Box. And if you haven't checked that out, I encourage you to. Anna Rosenbluff, who works in the museum, has been doing a really outstanding job about taking artifacts from the collection and kind of highlighting what they are and going through those videos. So they're pretty neat. Our senior nutrition continues to operate. We've been on an emergency plan for the last 2 weeks, so we'll be, hopefully that'll all come to an end, and we'll be having the staff back next week. And that meal delivery continues at about 80 meals a day on a drive-through or walk-up basis. So that has been holding steady. Our Heritage Theater is offering virtual concerts and events. So Warren Miller will be coming. They've been hosting that video for a long time. And so tickets are $30, and the link to watch it will be live from November 21st at 7 p.m. through November 23rd at midnight. So you can purchase your tickets and view it online. Jim Brickman is doing a live concert from his recording studio. So a portion of ticket sales that use our link also go to the Heritage Theater. And every time one of these opportunities comes up, the Heritage Theater is kind of working through getting those on our website and available for people. Some of them have like private Zoom meetings with the artists, or different things that they're kind of promoting. So it's pretty neat. And then we did have the virtual fun run. So it was, we had like 104 people attend. So that was great. If you go to campbellca.gov/Oktoberfest, you can see some of the pictures that people submitted. Or if you're on social media, you can use the hashtag Parks Make Life Better and probably see some people who posted their photos as well. And I think that is everything. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Natasha, I have one quick question. I believe all the fall sports leagues were canceled. So I'm just kind of wondering, how much revenue did that cost us, so to speak?
Yeah. So the sports leagues that rent the fields, you mean?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Our rentals are a significant portion of our revenue. So overall, fields and buildings are about $700,000 annually, maybe more. And we can't open our doors. We are test driving our very first Sunday rental with one of our faith-based organizations that was a regular renter of ours on Sunday. So they've been using the Ainsley Gardens and doing an outdoor setting, but they are one of the things within the county guidelines that allows them at a limited capacity to come back. So yeah, it's pretty significant for us. I think when we did our budget projections, I think everyone was optimistic that by October, November, we would have some fashion of open and people coming back and, rentals on a modified basis. And that really is not the case. So it's going to be challenging for us heading into the mid-year budget adjustments for sure.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I know some leagues are starting to do, we'll say, social distance practices, but they don't do games.
Mhm.
I've gotten a few emails about that, so I don't know if that's an option for some kind of partial revenue, so to speak.
Yeah, so it's definitely an option. It's just for us, gonna depend on which ones take the least amount of staff time and can generate the most amount of revenue for us, and balance of, youth programming versus adult programming. All of our large spaces, we're gonna have to probably use in a manner that we didn't use before either. So for example, the spin bikes are currently on the pool deck, and that's only gonna last until it starts raining. And so we might have to roll them into the aux gym so that we can space them out, properly. And then you kind of have to move things around as needed, excuse me, for other programming. We are able to offer through our contractor some basketball scrimmaging and things like that they're doing right now.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can't imagine how challenging it is for you, Natasha, and the group to even think about, how to follow all the ever-changing guidelines and somewhat, bring stability back to people eventually. So,
We have a great team. I have to say, everybody has really pitched in, and we have very limited temporary support where we were dominant of temporary employees when this all happened. When our supervisor, Aaron Bueno, has taught swim lessons over the summer. He's been, we had swim team get shut down partway through a month. And so instead of refunding half the membership fees, we've been doing these 2-week clinics, and they're doing kind of like makeup time for those swimmers. And he's been out on the deck. James has been on the deck, both coaching. I have Lauren Council and Tiffany Kazi and Julie Parachi, who are in the preschool teaching classes and in ratio with students. And so to help minimize some of that need for temporary personnel. And so, everyone is kind of in there. I've been setting up buildings for voter registration for the last, 4 days, and with senior nutrition. And so everyone's just kind of stepping in where they need to, just to make it work with limited resources at this point, because it's what we have to do.
well, and some of those things, I don't know if you're allowed, but sometimes could you reach out to all of us for volunteer help?
Yeah, so in the instance with senior nutrition, the county had requested that we put in place an emergency plan in the event that staff had to quarantine. And Tina Wong-Erlinger, the supervisor of that, worked with the Campbell Certs actually, and initiated an agreement with them. And
Nice.
I was so grateful that was in place. To be real honest, the Certs have been fantastic. It happened on a Sunday when we found out the staff had a quarantine for 14 days. And so to know that they were familiar with what needed to happen, that they could step in and immediately be effective and handle it. We're a small team, and when 6 people are out on quarantine, it's a very large impact
Absolutely.
on us. So we do have those things in place, and that's a community service that has to happen. There's other times when, you can cancel things, and that's okay. But with senior nutrition, it's one of those, like, it doesn't turn off just because people aren't there. So, but yeah, we do have that system in place, and we were very fortunate that the county had, implemented that the different sites had to have that plan ready to go.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Natasha? Thank you. You guys are doing amazing, given it sounds like you're working hard, harder probably than even normal, and you're probably on way more than normal, given all the, curveballs that are thrown your way. So kudos to you guys on all your efforts and everything you're doing for the city. I guess we're wrapping up with good of the games. If anybody has anything to offer up for good of the games. Lots of silence, people. Anybody?
I can say something. I do appreciate, again, as we mentioned, the skate park being reopened. From what I've seen, I've probably been there 4 times. It seems to be self-regulating pretty well, other than a couple kids not wearing helmets and a bike every once in a while. But all things considered, it seems to be working pretty well. So that seems good. And again, I'd like to congratulate Bob for his new position right now. So that's all. Thank you.
I guess I'll go next. I want to say, I'm enjoying my new Fun Rug beer stein. And my family and I did it, the fun run. I want to say thanks to Natasha and the city for still doing it. It was a great incentive for us to get outside, walk around downtown, and we had a good time. So I'm glad to see the city is still going through with some of the traditions, even though it's a little harder to do nowadays. And glad to hear about the skate park. I'll probably be there with my son this Sunday. So glad to hear that's open as well. So good job.
That it? Okay. Thanks, guys. I know we went a little longer tonight, but we haven't met for a few sessions. So it sounds like we're taking a pass on December, and the next meeting will be January the 13th, where some of us may or may not be there. We'll see.
Commissioner Fidrich, did you get an email from the clerk?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Okay.